Coco GX. So if Danny can get Wobbuffet down at the right moment and lock Emily out of using her Tapu Koko Prism Star, that honestly is the biggest edge you can get in this matchup.
Limiting the energy attachment very early on could give Danny that extra bit of edge. And we see from Emily's list, she does have 2 copies of Zapdos as well, which was very, very popular in its own style of list at Oceania, and now has become a little bit less so because there's just so many large Pokemon throughout the field. It's a little bit more difficult to get those knockouts. Do you think that Zapdos will function well in this matchup, or is it going to be largely something that she's not going to want to mess with?
It's a little interesting. Typically in these matchups, it was whoever got the first full blitz off with Pikachu and Zekrom was the person who was ahead in the game. But Danny is actually playing a version of Pikachu and Zekrom that's using 4 Jirachi, which we haven't actually seen much Jirachi in these decks as of late. Opting more for the electromagnetic radar build with Dedenne GX. So maybe Zapdos can be used because there's so many Jirachi on Danny's side, it can be used to pick off for easy knockouts, but we'll find out. Looks like Daniel Altavilla is going first here and starts off with that Tapu Koko Prism Star, so he's going to have the early advantage. And oh no, even worse. Emily starts off with Tapu Koko GX. Pokemon you never want to start with.
Nope, you want to be able to drop that onto your bench, use the Arrow Trail ability to pull all the energy to it, and then immediately be able to attack. So that's a big detriment for Emily to have to start that Tapu Koko GX.
Yeah, this is about as miserable as you can get. Going second, starting with your worst Pokemon on stream. What else could go wrong?
You remember that tilt thing we were talking about? This is definitely a situation where you can sort of feel like the script is against you.
Yeah, and this is just going to be an explosive first turn from Danny. He's going to go ahead and get that Pikachu and Zekrom GX down. He's got Tapu Koko Prism Star. He Ultra Balls away 2 Lightning Energy so he can use that Dance of the Ancients ability on the first turn. He hasn't even used Stellar Wish yet with Jirachi. This is already what he's been able to achieve. He's just going to put himself in position for a turn 2 full blitz, and if he can get the Wobbuffet down, it's going to be perfect. Even
oh my goodness.
The Dedenne GX use that Dedenne change ability, discard your hand, draw 6 cards. This is my pick for universally most powerful card to come out of the Unbroken Bonds expansion. We saw Shaman EX be dominant in the Pokemon TCG for years with that setup ability, and this is basically Shaman EX Part 2. It's not draw until you have 6. This time it's discard your hand and draw 6 new cards. You can only use 1 per turn, but being able to just put down a Pokemon, Ultra Ball for the thing you need, and draw 6 cards is absurd.
Especially since we have lost Professor Sycamore with the last rotation. Now we're down to pretty much Cynthia as being our strongest draw supporter.
Yep.
So to have additional Pokemon that can be pseudo-draw supporters is very, very important. And we can see that Wobbuffet hits the bench after Tapu Koko's Dance of the Ancients ability activates.
This is hard to come back from.
What a turn 1.
Like if I'm Emily here, I would concede. I think this is awful.
Oh my goodness, that fast.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a heck of a turn 1 setup. There's 3 energy on the board. There's a full blitz ready to go next turn from Pikachu and Zekrom GX.
Yeah, and
she does not have access to her Prism Stars.
And you started with your best defense against Pikachu and Zekrom, the Tapu Koko GX. It's miserable. I don't know how else to put it. So the only caveat here is Wobbuffet has a clause in its ability. It has to be on your bench to use its Shady Tail. So if you can Guzma and bring it out, you do gain access to Tapu Koko Prism Star once again. It will disable Shady Tail briefly. The problem is if you have to Guzma out Wobbuffet, that means you're not attacking the big Pokemon that are the threats. So that's when Wobbuffet can kind of checkmate your opponent. They're not allowed to use Tapu Koko Prism Star, but they're also not allowed to attack your other Pokemon, so it just gives you such a big lead.
She's going to go ahead and escape rope, move that Zeraora GX into the active, and Lily gets to draw up to 8 on her first turn.
Yeah, not a bad start. Draw 4 cards, but again, not being able to use Tapu Koko Prism Star is going to be quite painful for Emily. And I mean, Danny has Jirachi, well, had had Jirachi as his active Pokemon before the escape rope, but it's not like even a let loose from Marshadow can disrupt him that much, and she just has to pass the turn with Zeraora GX.
Her hand is very item heavy. She's got a couple Guzma, a couple Energy Switch that she can't really do anything with right now.
Yeah, and I mean, Danny's going to be able to retreat for free thanks to the Thunderclap Zone from Zeraora GX. If he can find some way to add some damage, he can get a knockout with the Full Blitz from Pikachu and Zekrom GX, but actually just going to go after the Tapu Koko GX on Emily's bench and see what he can do.
He is going to use that Stellar Wish ability off of Jirachi. Like you were saying, a Pokemon that we haven't seen included in these lists too much as of late, but certainly if you can still get that engine going with a skateboard, you're going to be able to cycle through your deck a lot faster.
Oh, and there we see Electro Power. It's going to add 30 damage to the Full Blitz and knock out this Tapu Koko GX. And this is something we've seen for months now. Full Blitz, get a bunch of energy onto your benched Pokemon and set up for future turns. Danny is in a dominating position. He was after his first turn. He's at a bigger advantage after his second turn. I'm not sure what Emily can do here.
He gets to take 2 prizes right off the bat. He has 2 fully powered attackers ready to go. Full Blitz can continue to pull energy out of the deck.
All right, so Emily is going to retreat and use Energy Switch here. So if she can find Thunder Mountain Prism Star, it is possible to pull off an attack this turn with Pikachu and Zekrom GX. If she can do something like find the Thunder Mountain Prism Star, get a couple Electro Powers, and use Tag Bolt GX, she can take down the Pikachu and Zekrom GX and take a 3-prize knockout, but it's asking for a lot.
It wouldn't be impossible for Danny to get the return knockout as well. He would just need a couple of modifiers to be able to hit that 240. Emily is going to go for the Dedenne GX off of her Ultra Ball, likely to use that Dedenne change ability.
Yeah, I mean, she's got to dig deep this turn. It's Thunder Mountain or bust, basically.
She's got to hit pretty big here.
Like there's a Field Blower that can discard the Escape Board, maybe disrupt the Jirachi a little bit.
Might as well. You're going to discard the hand anyway.
There's a Nest Ball. Maybe if she's got Absol in her deck, she can grab that and make it even tougher to use that Jirachi. And could just grab a Zapdos as well. Pokemon she grabs here is ultimately probably not that important, but it's going to come down to this big Dedenne change from Dedenne GX.
The Zapdos isn't super useful because she's got 2 of her Guzma in hand right now that she's going to have to discard. She's only running 3 in the deck total. So not that much mobility available if she were to try to find that Zapdos.
Yep, so I think here we go. Dedenne GX coming down, drawing 6 cards. Still no supporter played for the turn, so still can play things like Lily or Cynthia.
Oh, my apologies. It was a Volkner and a Guzma. So there's still a couple of Guzma in the deck.
All right, do we find Thunder Mountain? No,
Nope.
That does not look good. And you are limited to 1 Dedenne change ability per turn, so even though she draws the second Dedenne GX, not able to use the ability, and with no draw supporter in hand, well, there is still technically 1 out, I suppose. You can Volkner for your 1 Acro Bike and hope to hit Thunder Mountain. I think that's probably got to be it.
The Acrobike might be prized, though, if
oh.
I recall correctly.
That could be bad, yeah. See if there's an Acrobike in there. Looking through, and you are correct.
It is prized.
And yeah, I mean, at this point, you played your supporter for the turn, so even grabbing Tapu Lele GX doesn't help. I guess you can let loose with Marshadow. If you grab an Ultra Ball off of this Volkner, that keeps you alive.
Both of Danny's Marshadows are prized as well, but
yeah, who needs them?
when you're this far ahead.
Yeah. All right, so yeah, she is going for the Ultra Ball. Grabs Lightning Energy and that item card off of the Volkner. So I think, yeah, you just got to go all in at this point. You were so far behind. You got to take a chance. And it's like, no, she's just going to attach to the bench Pikachu and Zekrom.
Okay.
And saying, oh, all right, your turn. This is not going well for me.
Essentially saying that it's very likely that her active Pikachu and Zekrom gets knocked out this turn, so she wants to have 1 that she can start to power up on the bench.
So do see Danny retreating for free thanks to Zeraora GX, and now using Stellar Wish with Jirachi. I think he picked up a Guzma last turn, so he can certainly Guzma and go after maybe Dedenne GX or get another kind of easy one-hit knockout on one of those benched Pokemon. Or it could just Guzma out the other Pikachu and Zekrom if he just wanted to use this for a free opportunity to use Stellar Wish. Looks like poor Dedenne GX is going to be the target here, though.
Looks like he does have one Electro Power in hand, so can get that knockout with full Blitz. Attach another 3 energy from the deck.
Yep, he almost forgot to play the Electro Power before announcing full Blitz, but did play Electro Power, so gets the one-hit knockout on Dedenne GX, gets 3 more Lightning Energy.
Dedenne does have 160 hit points.
Yeah. It's a tiny one.
It's a schmall. Still can't be knocked out just by a full Blitz, but there are a lot of damage modifiers in this deck for Danny.
Yep. So now he's down to 2 prize cards. Basically just has to take 1 more knockout to win here. And this has got to be the turn. If you are Emily, you got to fight back right here. It is not completely out of the question to win this game. So we see 1 Electro Power. If she can get 3 of them this turn, we can see a full Blitz knockout as we do see Marshadow using Let Loose here. If you can get a knockout this turn, go down to 3 prize cards. There are 2 tag teams on your opponent's board, so if you can get a knockout this turn and your opponent doesn't find the resources to close out the game,
it's not impossible.
You can win the game in 2 turns. That is the great part and the terrible part of these tag team Pokemon.
It would be an absolutely massive comeback, and it would require just about the perfect draws, but it is
another
possible.
Electro Power. She still needs either Thunder Mountain or an Energy Switch to pull this off. Oh, Energy Switch. Choice Band. That does it. Uh-oh. This game might not be over.
Okay.
Energy Switch moving up. Now she can full Blitz for the knockout and get 3 extra energy in play. This will force Danny to have an answer.
Power up that benched Pikachu and Zekrom GX. Force Danny to go for the Zeraora knockout this turn, but does he have
I actually wonder if you're supposed to not get these energy here. It opens up Tapu Koko GX for your opponent.
True.
But Emily is going to go for the 3 Lightning Energy. Probably just all go, well, going to go on the benched Pikachu and Zekrom GX. Take 3 prize cards.
I think like you were saying, she has to take these risks. This is consistent with the way that she's been playing throughout the course of this game. And you know what? If he's got it, he's got it. That's just the risk that you have to take sometimes.
And he does have Jirachi to use Stellar Wish. He's got a Choice Band in hand already. Has not used his GX attack. There's also the Ultra Ball, so if Tapu Koko GX is in his deck, no, looks like it's not. Choice Band and just grab Marshadow and Let Loose.
Okay. Both players shuffle their hands into their decks, draw to 4.
Yeah, so now Danny can win with an Electro Power. He's played 2, so it's not guaranteed he finds one of his remaining 2. But if he does, he can just Tag Bolt GX for the game. Still hasn't played a supporter for the turn, but Guzma does it as well. Goes after Zeraora GX and can use Tag Bolt GX. And Danny Altavilla will take down this first game. Probably had a little scare there at the end, but otherwise a dominant Game 1 performance.
You know what? I want to give it to Emily on that one. She managed to stay in that when it was looking so bad that we even went to saying that if she conceded after Danny's turn 1, we wouldn't have really blamed her for it because his start was absolutely fantastic. But she found a way to work through a really poor opener, a really bad starting active Pokemon with that Tapu Koko GX, and she actually turned it into a game. So kudos to her, playing pretty clean right off the bat, but it is going to be Danny's game, and we are going to bring it to game number 2.
Yeah, and now Emily gets to go first, so it's a lot different situation. She can use that Tapu Koko Prism Star before Danny gets a chance to get Wobbuffet out, and that could be all of the difference in this match. She was just kind of a turn behind the whole time, right? She didn't get that burst of energy acceleration. Her opponent used full Blitz on turn 2, took 2 prizes. Her turn 2 was pass.
Yeah, not nearly as stellar as Danny's. There's so much advantage to being able to attach the first energy, get that first setup, but I mean, that's what you sign up for when you play this game. One player's going to get to go first.
Yep.
The player who loses game number 1, of course, gets to choose for game number 2. But then, if player who goes first wins game 1, player who goes first wins game 2, then the player who won game number 1 does get to choose for game number 3. And it is that sort of back and forth that we've come to be used to here. But we'll see if Emily can break the mold and pick up wins here in game number 2 and game number 3. There's still about 40 minutes on the clock, so plenty of time to get through 2 more games here. Tapu Koko GX prized, Tapu Koko Prism prized.
I think that's a bigger one. Tapu Koko Prism Star is the one card you do not want to have prized with this deck. Of course, it's a Prism Star card. You can only play one of it in your deck, and when it's prized, your deck just gets a lot slower. You need that burst of energy from Dance of the Ancients. It gets 1 energy directly onto your Pikachu and Zekrom GX, but then also puts an energy somewhere else, so you can energy switch and move over to it. So it's almost like you cheated 2 energy into play just thanks to 1 card. Your deck just gets a lot slower when you don't have access to that card.
Yeah, it's pretty pivotal to be able to use Full Blitz on turn 2.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Full Blitz being able to power up.
Turn 1
yeah,
if you're
with
lucky.
the energy switch.
Yeah. I've seen it. It happens. It's actually a lot more common now. It's a lot more common now that there's the electromagnetic radar into Dene GX. It's I don't want to say it's common to turn 1 Full Blitz, but it's not rare.
Uncommon.
Yeah. It's somewhere in between.
It's a 50-50. Either it happens or it doesn't.
Yeah, pretty much. That's how it works. All right, so turn 1 for Emily. Probably not exactly what you want to do. Volkner gets a Nest Ball and a Lightning Energy. I think she's really hoping to get Tapu Koko Prism Star up and running on this first turn. And, okay, just attached an energy and passed, so not as strong of a start as you would hope for.
No, not at all. And we see Danny with a pair of Jirachi right off the bat. Going to Nest Ball, search his deck, realize that the Tapu Koko Prism Star is prized this game, be a little sad about it, then move on like the professional he is.
Yep. Yeah, it's never a good feeling when you look through your deck and go, oops, okay, well, I don't have that card. Time to recalculate.
We're going to see that Raikou from Shining Legends be pulled out of the deck instead.
And that is an interesting inclusion. It was a tech card that was brought up a lot when Team Up first came out. It's kind of a counter to Zapdos. Since Zapdos is weak to lightning, you can play 1 Electro Power and then use Booming Thunder to hit for 120 and get an energy back, which is some pretty good value. So maybe Danny expecting to see a lot of Zapdos decks this weekend. Raikou is also hard for Zapdos to deal with. It's got 120 HP, takes a couple Electro Powers to deal with that thing. So that may be him hedging against that matchup.
It's a fair hedge here, as Emily does have a pair of Zapdos in her deck. And right off the bat, we see Stellar Wish with the Jirachi, a skateboard attached. Danny going to try to search through his deck, find those pieces of the puzzle that he needs to be able to take these knockouts.
Yeah, I wonder if Raikou is going to work out here. If he can get an energy in the discard pile and attack with Booming Thunder, it still gets him 2 energy in play. There's 1 on the active, 1 on the bench Pokemon, so it does serve as some energy acceleration because you play Energy Switch. So maybe it's a way to still get some extra energy out even though you don't have access to the Tapu Koko Prism Star.
It's certainly not as strong of a method, but it is an alternate method.
See another Stellar Wish and now an Ultra Ball going for another Pokemon. And he is just going to go right for that Wobbuffet and say, look, if I can't use Tapu Koko, neither can you. Let's just play fair.
I don't know that what he did turn 1 last game could be called fair, but...
All right, so a much slower start for Danny in game 2. Both players just attaching energy to their Pikachu and Zekrom GX and calling it good. Now Emily, if she can find that crucial Thunder Mountain Prism Star, she can attack on the second turn here, but her hand is pretty clogged up. She does have a Lily, which can be used to draw a card. Not your finest supporter. But if that 1 card is Thunder Mountain Prism Star, then sweet.
One card's all you need when it's the card that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And she could proactively play that Electro Power to draw 2 cards.
It's like she's doing that. It always feels bad to do that because Electro Power is so important.
Oof.
And, oh, man, does not find the Thunder Mountain Prism Star. Doesn't have access to Tapu Koko Prism Star because of the Wobbuffet. And just has to pass the turn in kind of a vulnerable spot.
You can
2 energy on the active.
You can see the difference in levels of consistency between these 2 builds. Danny has 4 copies of Jirachi in the deck, so he's consistently able to Stellar Witch and search through for what he needs, whereas Emily has just got these clunky hands full of item cards. If her board isn't already what she needs it to be, then these item cards just really aren't doing much.
Oh boy. Danny does find Thunder Mountain Prism Star, plays 2 Electro Powers, empties his whole hand, plays Lily for 6. If he finds another damage modifier, we're going to see an explosive turn 2. Oh, and he finds the Choice Band.
Oh my goodness. He's going to take 3 prizes here. He's going to remove the attacker that Emily has spent now 2 turns exclusively attaching energy to.
Oh, that is heartbreaking. And that just might be the end of the game right there. Wipes out all the energy on her side, powers up another Pikachu and Zekrom on the bench, takes a 3-prize knockout.
It's just that differential. Even with Emily being able to go first this game, her hand was doing her no favors.
Yeah.
But
all it boils down to.
Danny played really intelligently, used that Wobbuffet to lock out the Prism Star Tapu Koko very early. Emily never had access to it, and she's just going to give it up there. Daniel Altavilla is going to take game number 2, a quick 2-0 victory here in our second round of the day. And, you know, I really think it comes down to differences in the deck. Emily's deck is less consistent because she's not choosing to run copies of Jirachi, whereas Danny had 4 of them, and we saw him Stellar Wish quite a bit throughout those 2 games.
Yep.
And then, you know, Emily's starts were just leaving a lot to be desired.
Yeah. Turns out Jirachi is still pretty good.